Relentless Newcastle's march to Champions League shows no sign of slowing. Newcastle United are soaring, a team playing in a constant state of euphoria in front of ecstatic supporters, chasing the ultimate Champions League high. This was something else, something so powerfully intoxicating it will have made their supporters giddy. Eddie Howe's side have been adept at grinding out wins this season, but rarely have they been this destructive, this clinical. They ripped West Ham apart, slicing through them in midfield and blasting huge holes in their defense. They were like a black and white wrecking ball smashing through a paper wall of claret and blue. It left Hammers manager David Moyes clinging on to his job with the whitest of knuckles. It was always going to be a tough game for West Ham, but as good as Newcastle were, this defeat hurt so much because it was largely self-inflicted, like setting fire to your house because you were too lazy to blow out the candles before going to bed. As everything burned around him, Moyes was taunted by chants of "you're getting sacked" in the morning from the away fans. Alarmingly, for him, some Hammers fans joined in, at least those who had not already stormed out the stadium when the fourth Newcastle goal went on following yet another horrendous defensive blunder. The win strengthened Newcastle's grip on a top-4 place and made it 4 wins on the bounce heading into a second away game in the capital against Brentford. If we had thought Newcastle were running out of steam in and around their Carabao Cup final defeat to Manchester United at the end of February, they have regained momentum. It may well prove, at this stage of the season, to be unstoppable. A team that was still fighting a relegation battle this time last year could be about to grab a place at the top table of European football and unlock all the wealth it brings. Howe even claimed his team were not at their best. "We were clinical, and that's not something we have been able to say since the World Cup," said Howe. "It was a little bit of role reversal today because I don't think we were at our best, but we were clinical when the chances came. There was a little bit of agitation on our part, on the touchline, in the first half because we weren't at our sharpest. We were a bit sloppy, we looked a little bit fatigued after the high of Sunday beating Man United, and that can happen." Newcastle are 3 points clear of 5th place Tottenham, with a game in hand and 9 points clear of Aston Villa back in 7th. Whatever happens, the Geordies are surely going on a European tour next term. There are a number of candidates for Manager of the Year, but Eddie Howe should be in every single conversation. The job he has done, in just 18 months on Tyneside, is remarkable. To dismiss it as success bought by £250 million of Saudi Arabian oil money is not just wrong, it is ignorant. The performances of Sean Longstaff, Dan Burn, and Tuchel Joelinton here are proof of that. As is the newfound consistency of the mercurial winger Alan St-Maximin, who arguably had his best game away from St James Park in a Newcastle shirt. Yes, West Ham imploded. Yes, some of their defending was shambolic, the goals so soft they could best be described as marshmallow, but Newcastle made them crash and crumble. Sloppy, tardy marking for the first at a corner, scored by Callum Wilson. A poorly organized defensive line and a huge gap between their centre-backs for the second from Joelinton. But it was the third goal, just 22 seconds into the second half. That was the nadir as Naefagerd, and this is not a phrase that can be overstated, gifted Newcastle a third, scored by Wilson. And there was more to follow, a fourth that emptied the London Stadium of fans wearing claret and blue as fast as a fire alarm going off. Łukasz Fabianski chesting the ball down outside of his area for Alexander Isak to lob him. Joelinton added a fifth in stoppage time, running on to a simple long ball. The defeat kept West Ham, who had rallied after falling 2 goals down inside 15 minutes to pull a goal back from Kurt Zouma before half-time, trapped in a desperate fight for Premier League survival. Whether Moyes is left in charge of it remains to be seen. It was difficult to gauge precisely how angry the mood was at the final whistle because most West Ham supporters headed home when the 4th goal went in. But there were still loud boos, and the Scot has been in the game long enough to know how precarious his and West Ham's league position is. There was a time, not so long ago, when West Ham were an upwardly mobile Premier League side, but they never looked as good, as dangerous, or as attractive on the eye as this Newcastle United team are. 5 goals away from home, 4 wins on the spin. Something special is happening on Tyneside and there is little sign of it ending anytime soon. Thanks for your watching. Don't forget to click the subscribed button and hit the bell icon for more.